treatment area, oil and gas treatment area, LPG storage and loading shed, shared project area. The shared project area including power station and distribution area, center control area, public water treatment and fire pump area, public equipment area, storage areas. Oil field well pads distribute along shores of Lake Albert from south to north, followed by well pad of well pad 3, well pad 1, well pad 2, well pad 4A. The well pad is divided into drilling area and oil and gas production area. Facilities of drilling area include rig, mud pools, diesel generators, mud pumps, office containers. Oil and gas production area include Christmas trees, wellhead control panel, multi-phase flow meter, chemical systems, pig. Well pad 3 covers an area of about 43,600 square meters, a total of 10 wells, 6 oil wells, and 4 water injection wells. Well pad 1 covers an area of about 46,300 square meters, a total of 7 wells, 5 oil wells, and 2 water injection wells. Well pad 2 covers an area of about 38,000 square meters, a total of 10 wells, 6 oil wells, and 4 water injection wells. Well pad 4A covers an area of about 42,000 square meters, a total of 4 wells, 3 oil wells, and 1 water injection wells. Permanent camp is located on the west of CPF and can accommodate 120 people living, as well as accommodation, office, living, and entertainment in an integrated living area. Lake water is taken in for oil field water use and shall be treated by CPF and transported to oil field water use units through transfer line. The safety check station located at the top of Escarpment Road for security and safety check purposes. There are 3 partners for Lake Albert Oil Development Project. Ugandan government, namely Cnoq Uganda Limited, Total ENP Uganda BV, and Tullow Uganda Limited. The operatorship of Kingfisher is held by Cnoq Uganda Limited. FEED engineering of Kingfisher Field Development Project is performed by consortium of COOEC and SEC, which lays a solid foundation for the subsequent EPC. Fully sail with strong wind on wide sea under broad sky, compose a new chapter with one heart and great aspiration. Under the leadership of Cnoq Uganda Limited, all staff with more enthusiasm, more active state, steadily promotes the project in accordance with the established schedule and high quality. Take practical action to meet the new chapter of international companies' overseas development. In the near future, a modern oil production facility will be erected on the banks of Lake Alberta in Uganda. Company adheres to the win-win concept, actively fulfills social responsibility, promotes the harmonious development of the company and local communities, and enhances the traditional friendship between the Uganda and China people. The Belt and Road Initiative benefit the African land.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Q2 Cnoq Supplier Development Forum. This forum is one of the greatest if you want to get into the oil and gas sector. And before I continue, allow me to take off my mask, and I will also ask the people in the studio to adhere to the fact that we are in COVID times. So it's only the people that will be speaking that will have their masks off. So I'll take off my mask. I would like to welcome you all to the Q2 Cnoq Supplier Development Forum. This forum is meant to support local businesses, but also businesses that are keen on getting into the oil and gas sector. It's an organization of conversations that are supposed to support local content and the idea of dealing with visibility over demand in this oil and gas sector. With me is a great panel that I will introduce shortly. But before I introduce shortly, I would like to thank the organizers who include JP Wong, Cnoq, and Stanbic Business Incubator for putting this together for our viewership out there. With me is a great panel, and I will start, of course, with James Musherure. James Musherure is a senior national content manager, specifically focusing on contracts. Now, if you are asking why you're not getting that contract, or if you want to know how to get that contract, this is the man to deal with today. He has been in the oil and gas sector for quite some time. He has very keen interest in the oil and gas sector, specifically around local content. And James has a wealth of knowledge, UK trained, and also very, very entrenched in the system over the last few years. In the system, I'm talking about the oil and gas space. And next to him, we have Conrad. Conrad Chimbugwe is a graduate of law. He supports the business incubator with research on oil and gas, which is a critical area for the SMEs that we support at the business incubator. And he is going to be speaking about some of the things or some of the financial issues that businesses need to think about when getting into the oil and gas space. Next to him, we have Henry Kamuntu. Henry Kamuntu is the sector head of oil and gas at Stanbic Bank Uganda and is involved, of course, in the development and the implementation of strategies to ensure that the bank in Uganda has or can adequately support your businesses. Henry's long-spanning banking career has seen him serve in various positions. Henry has been executing several projects for clients, and of course, now with his forte for oil and gas, that gets us a very interesting conversation with him today to really tell us what it takes for a local business to approach him, to be able to get support. A lot of the time, businesses have said their biggest challenge is access to finance. Henry is here to demystify that myth and make it possible for your businesses to be able to get this support. Next to Henry, we have one person who is, I would say, one of the goalposts in the oil and gas sector. He's been around for quite some time. We have Emmanuel, and Emmanuel Mugarura is the chief executive of the Association of Uganda Oil and Gas Service Providers. This is an organization that has been around for quite some time. And for many of you who have been in the industry, you will know that this was one of the pioneer organizations to support local businesses in getting involved in the oil and gas sector. Henry has previously served as the National Content Advisor and the Head of Public Policy with August, and his major role has been to act as a link between government, donors, civil society, and non-state parties with the association that he works with. He's also previously served as a Corporate and Business Development Manager at First Technologies Limited. And of course, next to him, we have Matthew. Now, many of you who have been watching these supplier development forums, and the beauty about COVID is that they have all been online, is you've been able to see Matthew Chaligonza. Matthew is the National Content Manager at Cnoq Uganda Limited. He's a chartered procurement professional with an extensive knowledge and experience in local content management, project management, procurement, logistics, and financial management. Matthew has 13 years experience in the construction project management, and as we're speaking about construction and development, you all know that now we're getting into the development phase of the oil and gas sector. But before we begin the conversations, I want to start with a safety moment, which is one of the critical ways or things that we need to start off in any event that is oil and gas, that is an oil and gas event. As you all know, we've been hit as a country. We've been hit by the COVID pandemic. This wave, unlike any other wave, is really taking down people. This wave, unlike any other wave, is killing so many people. I think as a safety moment, it's important for us to understand that it is critical at all times to observe our standard operating procedures, SOPs, to wash our hands, avoid contact, and stay home if we can. Let us try to do our best to stay alive. I hope that as we conclude this program today in the next few hours, we can all pray and thank God for still being healthy. And for those who are going through a tough moment, We want to pray with you, we want to empathize with you, and we want to be compassionate in the way we deal with these COVID issues. So with that safety moment, I would like us to start our engagements immediately. So I will start with James Musherure. And James, welcome back to these very great conversations. I have had the honor and privilege of being with you on several of these conversations over the last few years. Over the last few years, we've been talking about when it will happen, when it will happen, when it will happen. We have promised, and I know for a fact that some Ugandans actually thought, for lack of a better word, I was a muferi, preaching about the opportunities, and yet they're not coming. Now, the opportunities are here. James, what do we see coming out of these opportunities, and where do we stand as a country from the regulators' point of view?
Thank you very much, Tony. Like you said, just briefly take off my mask. You are right indeed. Over the last few years, we've talked about this project, about the oil and gas sector and how it's supposed to move. But there have been delays. Like any construction or a project of this magnitude, there are so many puzzles that have to be in place. And those puzzles, the government has been working hard to make sure that they're in place. I can confidently say now, Tony, I'm sure you're used of the word tusimbude. I can tell you that the oil and gas now tusimbude, because all the puzzles that were blocking the progress of the industry are now in place. We have signed major key government agreements between the governments of Uganda and Tanzania, you saw recently. From there, it has led to award of major key contracts. The oil and gas contracting is almost in a tier form, and it is usually the major players who appear at tier 1 that are key in the stage where we're moving to construction.
Would you mind breaking down what tier means? Tier.
Yes. So tier, I would equate it to levels. There is always a level. So you have the licensed oil company, in this case, which is Total and Cnoq, but they don't do the work themselves. They look for major contractors with financial muscle, with technical muscle, with expertise in the industry to implement the work. So those ones usually come at tier 1. And that's why you've been hearing EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction companies. So those are the ones that come at tier 1. And from there, those now go to contract other people at a lower tier or tier 2 level, where most Ugandans now come to play. I'm sure, I think it was this week or last week, I saw a big headline saying American Chinese company signs a 7 trillion shillings oil contract. I don't think we have seen a contract of that magnitude in Uganda in the past. So I can confidently say that the agreements are in place. The selected tier 1 contractors who are going to do the actual construction of the facilities necessary, that is the refinery, that is the pipeline, that is the support infrastructure, that is the central processing facilities, are now being identified, and that's why you're seeing such magnitude of contracts. And therefore, they are now going to enter the real construction phase. And that's what Ugandans have been looking for. When is the construction starting? Most of the people you meet, they say, when is the first oil? But the actual question is, when is construction starting? Because the opportunities trickle down at the construction level. So when these contracts are signed, like a tier 1 contractor, which is the EPC, then he's able to look for other people. Tony to supply him cars to move his workers. Mr. Mugarura to supply him all the concrete he needs and sand. And Mr. Kamun to supply him with all the workers he needs in the construction. So those are the tier level 2 contractors. And that's why Ugandans are going to play a bigger role. So the agreements are in place. The contractors are being identified. Some have been identified. And we are going into construction. The delays are no more. So the opportunities you've preached for, Mr. Tony, in the past are actually now, from where we sit, being realized, and the country is going to go into this stage of construction. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I know we're going to have a conversation on what these opportunities are, and you'll be able to elaborate that. But I think before we go on, I think I would like to invite my brother Matthew to really speak about what Cnoq as a contractor is doing, because it's very important for us to understand that these are the guys who are going to offer the tier 1 contracts, like my brother James Mushere has mentioned, and also will be able to promote local content and to also enforce that as a company. So, Matthew, if you could just tell us what your plans are at Cnoq and your strategy for this story in terms of the development in the oil and gas sector.
Thank you so much, Tony. My name once again is Matthew Kyargonza. I'm the National Content Manager at Cnoq. Cnoq Uganda Limited is an IOC, oil and gas company, that is in a joint venture partnership with Total Energies and Cnoq as our major 2 partners that we're partnering with. The Lake Albert oil and gas development project has different components that include Kingfisher project, which is operated by Cnoq, the Tilenga project, which is operated by Total Energies. There is the construction of the refinery. There is the export pipeline, which is called EACOP, East African Crude Oil Pipeline. Then there are also other associated infrastructure like construction of roads and others. The Kingfisher project is a 40,000 barrels of oil designed central processing facility with 4 well pads, which shall have 20 oil producer wells and 11 water injection wells, and a 46 to 50 kilometer feeder pipeline. That's just the brief of the Kingfisher project that we are going to deal with as Cnoq. And as Cnoq, as you know, in the oil and gas petroleum value chain, we have the upstream, the midstream, and downstream. And the upstream is where there is exploration, there is development, there is production, and there is also decommissioning. Then at the midstream stage, we have the transportation, gas refining and processing. Then there is a downstream, which is the distribution, sales, and marketing of the final products from oil and gas. As Cnoq Uganda Limited, we are more involved in the upstream and the midstream. So as Tony has ably introduced you and my brother James, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the Ugandan suppliers that we as Cnoq would like to maximize the national content in form of Ugandans participating and partaking of these opportunities. And we are here in partnership with the Association of Oil and Gas Suppliers, together with Stanbic Bank and the Stanbic Business Incubator. We have apologies from DFCU Bank, who have not been able to join us due to unavoidable circumstances at the last minute. But despite that, allow me to tell you some of the specific opportunities that the Kingfisher project will present to you, our dear viewers and potential potential suppliers and current suppliers. One, we shall have the PC1 project. PC1 is procurement and construction project, where we shall have well pad preparation. These are majorly civil works. And we shall have EPC2, where we are going to have things like camp construction, feeder lines and feeder roads construction and the like. We shall have EPC3, which will have the construction of a central processing facility, and EPC4, which will have the construction of the pipeline. In addition, we shall also have drilling packages and construction of resettlement houses. Now, these are going to be the tier 1 suppliers to do this. The tier 1 suppliers are what Mr. James, my brother, talked about. And all these contracts are in their final stages. It is after those contracts are awarded, which is going to happen very soon, very, very soon, that the other opportunities will also show up for subcontracting to other Ugandan SMEs. And these subcontracts will be presented in different the opportunities will be different, where there will be procurement and supply of materials, equipment for construction, for well pads 1, 2, 3, like you saw in the video. There will also be construction of infield road, supply base, permanent camp, safety check station, central processing facility, infield flow lines, lake water intake pump station, temporary camp, and a feeder line. And all these will have components of which Ugandan or local suppliers can partake. The other will be opportunities for subcontracts. For example, in the detailed design, engineering design, the supply of local materials like aggregates, steel, cement, and the like, supply of construction equipment, and subcontracting of sections of the work, which shall include, for example, installation of the conductor pipe. Then there will also be an opportunity for construction supervision consultancy by Ugandan companies. So in a nutshell, those are some of the direct opportunities that Kingfisher will present. If you allow me, Mr. Moderator, to proceed, there will also be opportunities in the other associated projects, like the airport, and these will include the airport and the industrial park. This will include construction of enabling infrastructure, like electricity supply, water supply, waste management, access roads. Then there is heavy downstream, the heavy downstream industry, which shall include the petrochemical manufacturing, fertilizer, and agro products, industrial gases like LPG, and these shall, in addition, include, these opportunities in addition shall include residential and the hospitality industry, where we shall need accommodation, facilities like health facilities, education facilities. There will also be opportunities for the trade and logistics cluster, where we shall have need for warehousing and storage, freight and forwarding services, and the like. So all these opportunities, you might ask yourself, how are you going to partake of these opportunities? These opportunities, first of all, you need to be pre-qualified. And how is pre-qualification of a vendor done at Cnoq? First of all, we have about 4 stages, but majorly 3. One is the legal that you have to adhere to. 2 is the technical, and 3 is the commercial. For this conference that is focusing on finance, I'll focus on the financial bit, where we shall need to know your financial status. We shall need, what we evaluate is also business continuity, that your business is a going concern. We shall also need the investment and value addition. We want to know how much your investment is worth and how much value you'll add. And we'll have to know your organizational structure, your employment structure, your financing sources. And this is where our partners, the financial institutions like banks, come in. And you need a strong financial partner in form of a bank or a financial institution to back up your commercial bid. and we shall also look at your policies and procedures. All these put together, you, as a contractor, you must demonstrate financial capability that is very, very high. So after pre-qualification, we send an invitation to tender, which also has about 4 stages we look at. And these are the technical, unpriced commercial, legal and regulatory, and also finally the pricing. And here we allow me also to concentrate on the commercial, the unpriced commercial, where we look at your national content plan. We look at your national content plan and see how many Ugandans are you going to employ? How many contractors or subcontractors, Ugandan subcontractors, are you going to engage? Is there going to be any technology transfer or knowledge transfer that you have planned? Are you going to use Ugandan goods and services? These are things that you include in the national content plan that is evaluated, and as per the regulations, the national content plan takes about a minimum of 10%. And if you do a good national content plan, you are assured of this 10% on top of 10% on top of your bid. So we also look at the commercial deviations. If you have very many commercial deviations, it is disadvantageous to you. We encourage you to have as few deviations as possible, and if possible, none. We look at the financial status. This is where we look at your relationship with your financiers, and this is very key. We look at your insurance coverage. We look at your tax clearance, and we have to ensure that you are also not bankrupt. Yeah. We also look at your source of financing. This also takes us back to the main the issue of having a strong financial partner. We look at whether you have formed a joint venture or whether you are subcontracting. So if you look at also the other requirements, which include technical at the technical evaluation, we also look at, among others, availability of resources. And these resources can include equipment, we can include manpower, can include technological resources, and at the end of the day, they all need financing. So even at technical stage, the financing component is very key. So when you look at the regulatory, legal and regulatory framework, what we look at, there is also the component of tax compliance. And to be tax compliant, it also has financial connotations. Then finally, we look at the pricing. This comes after all these, and you have to give us a bid or a price that is competitive. Because if you don't do that, other suppliers who have also qualified technically might outcompete you at the price stage. So basically, that is what we will start with. I will get another opportunity through you, Mr. Moderator, Tony, to talk about what Cnoq has done and is doing for the Ugandan suppliers and SMEs in the line of national content. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I think that was a very solid one. We're going to try and break it down, hopefully in the next 1 hour, because I think what's really critical for SMEs or businesses is how do they get involved in this? And I think that conversation on the National Supplier Database, which you have missed out, will be explained thoroughly by James, because it's very important for us to understand that for you to provide a good or service in the sector, you have to be on the National Supplier Database. And I think we shall come back to that conversation. But before we continue, I just want to remind you that we are using Slido. So if you have comments, questions, or anything of the sort, the code is 299322. 299322, which I'll just put that on the screen for you to have a look at. Use that to come in with your comments and tell us what you're thinking, but also your questions for the panel. I'm going to move to Henry Kamuntu, and I'm going to just try and ask Henry Kamuntu one critical question before he presents. how easy is it for a business that has not really been involved in the oil and gas sector over the years, have an insight into the sector and come to you for support in order to provide financing? We all know many businesses have always said access to finance is one of the biggest challenges or the craziest challenges they face. How are you solving that, and what solutions have you got for these businesses?
Okay. Thank you, moderator. I think in the interest of safety, kindly allow me to also keep my mask on for this particular session. Maybe I'll just start by first introducing the bank itself. So Stanbic Bank is part of Standard Bank Group, and Standard Bank Group has been in existence for over 158 years in Africa. We have a representation in over 20 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and also global representation in New York, London, and Beijing. So we're actually very excited to be here partnering with partners like Cnoq, our Chinese partners over here. And we have a group vision that says that Africa is our home. We drive our growth. Bringing it closer to Uganda, and for the viewers out there, we have over 50 years existence in Uganda, and we are listed also on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Very happy to know that almost 20% of the bank itself is owned by local entities, and I think and local Ugandans, and I think that's very exciting. So in being a part of this discussion over here, it's really bringing it home to say that if we are going to be or truly believe in our purpose that Uganda is our home and we drive our growth, how do we then start supporting entities? So we've managed to build strong relationships with various local entities, local stakeholders. We have very good relationships with the IOCs, and I think this would be evident here. We're here partnering with Cnoq to deliver this conference to the wider viewers who want to participate in this very, very big opportunity. It's a massive opportunity. It's believed that almost 20 billion will be spent over the next 5 years, of which about 30% is being primarily targeted for local content. So if you're talking about 6 billion Uganda shillings, that's about 21 trillion Uganda shillings. It is a huge amount of money, and there are many, many opportunities for Ugandans to partake in this. So we've developed these partnerships and relationships with key stakeholders. Government of Uganda is another key stakeholder of ours, and I think our participation in this market and our ability to drive the growth has seen us begin to hive out a significant market share in the financial markets, and this can only be attributed to the partnerships that we develop with our clients over their lifetime or participation. So maybe just to touch on what my colleague Matthew touched around, we're very excited about this opportunity, and I think we're very passionate about supporting local content and the local content players who are looking to participate in these opportunities. There have been 16 services that have been ring-fenced for the local content, and Matthew touched on that. Anything from fabrication, construction, cement and steel, camp services, etc. And we are very key and very eager to support entities like this in participating in that. And how do we do this? I think this will be developed around the relationships that we grow with our clients. So it's, as Matthew mentioned, there is a bidding process. And through this bidding process, our ability to support our clients participate in these opportunities comes in the form of, offering our clients secured and unsecured bid bonds. Matthew did mention that you'll need security to be able to enter into these tenders. And we understand, the lay of the land and all that it will entail in partaking some of these opportunities. once you have bidded for the opportunity itself, as a local supplier, you will be required to submit this particular bid bond, and we are able to partner with our clients. I think what COVID-19 has done also for our business in developing a digital agenda, and our digital agenda has actually been accelerated quite significantly in these circumstances. We're able to offer our clients the ability to get these bid bonds online, so you don't necessarily have to come through to the bank to get this bid bond. And I think this is a really critical thing, because safety in this period is very, very, very important. So we have the ability to offer these services on the same-day processing ability, and it will cover anything from local, regional, or international bids. So once you have submitted your bid, you hand that over to Cnoq. Cnoq evaluates, and they tell you, guess what, you have been awarded the bid. We don't stop at just giving you the bid bond. We begin to partner and journey with you on this particular project that you're looking to embark on. And we have the ability to offer performance bonds and advance payments guarantees that should be able to support you in delivering of these particular contracts. Once again, these are services that we're able to offer on a same-day process under our digital platforms, and you go into the contract execution. Once you execute, it's critical that you have financing. So do you have sufficient financing for the projects? You have assets that you need, yellow metal as an example, if you're in the construction piece, or if you're supplying goods and services, do you have the funding to procure these payments, as they will be needed upfront? How do you pay your workers? There are various touch points off of which we can come in to offer various solutions to support our clients through this particular journey. So anything from contract financing, we can help in certificate discounting as you go along the project and deliver, offer letters of credit to help with the importation of goods or import financing, and of course vehicle and asset financing, I think, which is also critical in delivering of these projects. We have good relationships with a lot of the dealers and suppliers in country, so our ability to support our clients, negotiate on some of these contracts to be able to deliver to the standards that Cnoq would require is very, very critical. And on completion of the project, there's usually a handover process. You'd find typically in most of these projects there'll be some funds that are retained, and it's important that you still have cash flows to be able to support your businesses. So we support our clients through offering of retention guarantees that will hopefully have some of these funds released through to them. Once again, we're available to support on any payments and collections that the client may have, offering forex solutions. I think in this particular period, we've managed to come up with some innovations to support even those that are not banked with Stanbic. Solutions, as an example, if you have workers in a campsite, they might not have bank accounts. So how do you pay these workers? We have the ability to offer solutions around FlexiPay. It's an innovation that we came up with to really begin to get financial inclusion, which is so important. So you can or you cannot be a Stanbic bank account holder, but we are coming up with solutions to support our clients through this particular journey. So our thinking around all of this is we need to offer the solutions, and we do it in a holistic manner. Part of the solutioning is based on keeping the client or the contractor or supplier at the center of everything that we do. So we will offer everything from relationship management, and we have a relationship-based banking model that with the various sector expertise that we have within the bank and segment teams, we're able to offer solutions that will support our clients in delivering in particularly of these transactions or projects. On the transactability side, we have a significant representation around the country with over 69 branches, 11 customer service point centers, and 171 ATMs. But our financial inclusion has now even extended to banking agents. So we have over 3,000 Stanbic Bank agents. And once again, this goes to show how we've had to innovate as times have changed. People's working hours have changed. Your ability to access funding, finances might be outside of the working hours. So these are some of the solutions that we have had to come up with to support our clients through these particular journeys. On the payment side, we can do everything digitally. We have a business online optionality. Once again, safety being a key thing. And I think what COVID-19 has really brought to the fore is the ability to still offer services in a very safe manner and a secure manner. So our development of our digital solutions has been truly accelerated. We offer still, for those that are still old school, cash in transit services are available. I did touch on, the FlexiPay mobile money payment solutions. The requirements by the IOCs, trade finance solutions are available. We offer end-to-end solutions on this. So once again, you might look at the contractor, but I think what we're also very passionate about is the people that deliver these services. And for us, the employee value proposition is so important. If your people are not catered for, very likely you will not be able to deliver on your project. So we have tailor-made employee solutions that we can offer our clients. So I think Tony, for us, what is critical is, as a bank, we look to offer solutions to clients. We appreciate that we might not bank everyone, but we're on a journey to include those that are banked by ourselves and those that are not banked. And we believe partnerships are important, and we need to understand the journeys that our clients are going through. So we'd definitely like to be, for the viewers out there, we'd like to be your preferred partner. We have strong relationships that we built over the years. We believe we can offer the platform to offer clients that do approach us the opportunities to partner with others. My colleague Matthew mentioned JV partnerships. We can call on our long history within the group to support any entity that is looking to deliver on some of these good opportunities. If they lack the financial muscle, they're strong partners that we can bring on board, engage and create the platform for them to engage and hopefully forge these partnerships that will see them win these contracts and hopefully at the end of the day, transform their lives. It's $6 billion US that we're talking about. It's a significant amount of money. But the only way you can do it is if you're prepared. You touch on the National Supplier Database. It's so critical. For those that are looking to participate in this, you have to be registered. Without that registration, there is no way you'll be able to participate in this. But also, having partnerships with our sister companies like the Business Incubator really help in developing and growing our clients. Finances might not be the main issue, It might be a governance issue. So how do we support our clients through that particular journey? And I think these are some of the things that, as a bank, we're looking to change the way we approach and support our clients through this particular journey. So we'd like to be your trusted partner. We're available for contact. Please visit your nearest Stanbic branch, or you can reach out to us on 0312-224-600, and hopefully you can start this particular journey with you. I think I'd like to just leave you with a quote from Henry Ford, which basically said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together is success. So I believe with us as your partner on the financial side, we can surely find a solution if we sit and talk together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henry. That was quite comprehensive. I guess we'll also be diving into how you're really solutioning for the businesses. But I just want to move to my brother, Emma. Emma, you have been in the trenches, they call it the trenches, for quite some time. I think I first engaged with you in the oil and gas sector in, I think, 2011, but you had been already in there 3-4 years before. You've led a great number of companies, Ugandan companies, some of which are now defunct. You know, I mean, many of them were excited about this oil and gas story, and then all of a sudden, there was nothing. Wikuzikizad, in other words. How are things going on your side? But also, just before you go in, just a clarification. The Slido passcode is 299283. It's 299283. So for any of you who have questions for the audience, for the panel, 299283. Emma, how have you been surviving? Are some of your guys coming back to life? Are they coming out of limbo? What's your strategy?
Thank you very much, Tony. It's a start-stop kind of environment. Since 2012, when we were told by our friends in PAU and PEPD at the time that we were transiting seamlessly from exploration to development and production. And a lot of our people at the time were excited. They went into a frenzy, they borrowed money, they invested, they trained people, they invested in equipment, in machinery, in office, in systems to help them to participate in the next phase. We were excited because we had been, some of us had been fortunate enough to get part of the $3 billion that had been spent in exploration. And we would see them around when they were the most successful business people around town. Wanted to be like them, were aspiring to be like them. So everybody was coming on board. When the association was born in 2011, we were looking at having as many people, as many Ugandans involved in oil and gas as possible. And we were telling them, from what we were hearing from then PPD, that we were transiting seamlessly from exploration to development and to production. And we knew there was going to be a lot of money in development because the money they were talking about at the time, and even now, was quite huge sums of money. We were talking about $15 billion, $20 billion. Our economy is $27 billion. The best one is $30 billion. So if they say there is an investment worth $15 billion, it's huge. It's quite big. So we told people, go and prepare and invest. And people heeded our call. They went and borrowed. They went to these banks. They borrowed money. And hey, 10 years down the road, we're just starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. But it has come at a time when people have lost the patience, when people can no longer want to listen to the calls to invest, to build systems, to build JVs, to look for partnerships. Why? Because some people have lost property. Some people have lost livelihoods. Some people have lost businesses. Some people trained and employed people and helped them to skill. Tony, we worked together when we were training people. We trained 200 people in HSE with funding from GIZ. When they went back to these companies, the companies could no longer afford to pay them. The people left. So now it comes at a time when people have to employ fresh people, train them, certify them. I remember in 2015 we were using the QME 2015 when there were discussions about the revival of oil and gas in 2018. They told us that the QME 2015 was ISO was no longer valid, that you needed to upgrade to another management system. So Tony, to the local Ugandan service providers, it's been a rough journey. We think and believe that this time around there will be no roadblocks. We believe that the Ugandans out there are going to heed to our call to go and register on the National Supplier Database, to build systems, to be ready, because they are a bit relaxed to do that. When I meet them and I talk to them, they tell me, you man, you told us last time, 10 years ago to invest. We've invested, we've lost our money. How serious are we? How sure are we that now it's not the same stories? But we've had people in, Tony. I think the delay somehow was a blessing in disguise, because it has helped us, some of our companies, to build systems, to have that experience, to build partnerships, to send people out and train them, to learn things that maybe we wouldn't have learned 10 years ago. Actually, I normally tell my members that maybe we were lucky that we didn't go into development 10 years ago, because maybe if we had done, then it would have been catastrophic for the country. I think if we have transparent systems today from the IOCs, and if we're helped by PAU and government and the regulator, we shall have more people participating in oil and gas this time than we would have had in 2012. Why? Because people are now more prepared, people are more knowledgeable. We have had more people, even in IOCs, more Ugandans joining the IOCs.
What IOCs are? Not everyone might know what IOCs are.
Oh yes, sorry. The international oil companies, the Cnoq, the Totals, and Cnoq now, the Uganda National Oil Company. They're employing more Ugandans now, and capable Ugandans, meaning that we have many Charigonzas there to speak for us, which would not have been a case 10 years ago. But also we've lost some good people, like the Tonys. They've left the industry to get faster greener pastures. So the point I'm trying to make is I think things are better now than they would have been 10 years ago. But like we'll be saying later, there are still lots of challenges. Lots of challenges, especially on accessing affordable financing. That I'll talk to later. And I am happy that we have financial institutions here, because, Tony, one of the biggest challenges we have as service providers, and you alluded to it earlier, is access to affordable financing. I told you that some of our members lost businesses, they lost property. And you can't blame the banks. They had to recover their investment, their loans. But you think if big companies, if big Ugandan companies are collapsing at the hands of banks, who is going to employ Ugandans? Who is going to participate? Because these are not small companies we're talking about. These are big service providers that are struggling at the hands of the banks. So we need to get away to help Ugandan service providers to join the money chain in oil and gas. Otherwise, the 15 billion, the 10 billion, the 20 billion we hear about is going to remain a song. It's going to remain a myth. We're going to hear there was an oil and gas industry that was 20 billion, worth 20 billion shillings, dollars, that we can't see tangible gains from. And there are examples to draw from. I think Tony and James went to Nigeria. These guys were telling us up to 2010, most Nigerians were not getting anything from oil and gas. Why? Because there were no systems. The laws were not helping them. It was a cutthroat business. Then you go to areas like Angola, down here, very near home. You go to Equatorial Guinea, there are many countries in Africa that have had oil, but locals have not benefited from that oil. So we need to build systems, we need to build laws, we need to have a fallback position. PAU, we need to come to you, we need to cry to you, we need to give us a shoulder where we can cry and you listen to us and you sort our problems. But it's not all gloom and doom, it's not that bad. I know that once we start, and I want Matthew to listen, if you call for fresh EOIs, expression of interest, because I think you last called about 2 years ago. If you call today for fresh EOIs, you're going to get more Ugandans participating and expressing interest. Ugandans out there listening to us, viewing us, please go to the National Supplier Database, because if you're not in the National Supplier Database, whoever you are, whatever you are, whoever you know. And oil and gas is a bit special. It doesn't have this, do you know me, or do you know who I know? So you must follow the laws and regulations. You must register on the National Supplier Database. You must build your systems. You must pay your taxes for you to be able to participate. So I call upon Ugandans to register on the National Supplier Database. It's free. It's available. It's online. You don't need to call James. You don't need to call anybody you know in PAU. Just go online and register so that we can all be able to participate. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. That was a very, very interesting and comprehensive outlook from, we shall come back in the next 1 hour and dig into that. We're going to have one final presentation, but in the next hour after we break off. But I just want to again remind you that the Slido, code is 299283. Get onto that, send us your questions. So many questions are coming in and we shall dive into those in the next 1 hour. But I also wanted to say, Emmanuel, you raise a very interesting point. The fact that Uganda as a country has a lot of has set up a lot of steps to prepare Ugandans for this story. Regulations, the laws. We shall talk about how or whether it will be implemented. That's another thing that we shall discuss in the next 1 hour. So let's just break off, and when we come back, we shall have one final presentation, and then we go into the conversations on the sector.
The Kingfisher Field lies on the southeastern flank of the Albert Basin, which is part of the western arm of the East African Rift System. The field is approximately 15.2 kilometer long by 3.0 kilometer wide and covers an oil area of 32.3 kilometers squared. The Kingfisher Oil Field Development Project shall comprise the following facilities: construction of a 40,000 BOPD design capacity CPF, 4 well pads, linking of the well sites to the CPF by production flow lines and water injection lines, lake water intake pump station, permanent camp, supply base, safety check station, and temporary camp. The well fluid from the Kingfisher field will be transported to the Central Processing Facility, CPF, via flow lines from individual well pad. Crude oil from the 2 CPFs will be transferred to the delivery point at Cabal, which is 50 kilometers away by a feeder line. Associated gas shall be used as fuel for internal power generation and heating energy. Excess gas will be treated for LPG production by recycling C3 and C4. LPG products are sold through tankers. Produced water treated by oil and water separation facilities shall be re-injected. Lake water is taken in for oil field water use and shall be treated by CPF and transported to oil field water use units through transfer line. CPF is located in the middle of the entire oil field, covers an area of about 169,000 square meters. The factory area is divided by functions as follows: office area and administration quarter, production water treatment area, oil and gas treatment area, LPG storage and loading shed, shared project area. The shared project area including power station and distribution area, center control area, public water treatment and fire pump area, public equipment area, storage areas. Oil field well pads distribute along shores of Lake Albert from south to north, followed by well pad of well pad 3, well pad 1, well pad 2, well pad 4A. The well pad is divided into drilling area and oil and gas production area. Facilities of drilling area include rig, mud pools, diesel generators, mud pumps, office containers. Oil and gas production area include Christmas trees, wellhead control panel, multi-phase flow meter, chemical systems, pig. Well pad 3 covers an area of about 43,600 square meters, a total of 10 wells, 6 oil wells, and 4 water injection wells. Well pad 1 covers an area of about 46,300 square meters, a total of 7 wells, 5 oil wells, and 2 water injection wells. Well pad 2 covers an area of about 38,000 square meters, a total of 10 wells, 6 oil wells, and 4 water injection wells. Well pad 4A covers an area of about 42,000 square meters, a total of 4 wells, 3 oil wells, and 1 water injection wells. Permanent camp is located on the west of CPF and can accommodate 120 people living, as well as accommodation, office, living, and entertainment in an integrated living area. Lake water is taken in for oil field water use and shall be treated by CPF and transported to oil field water use units through transfer line. The safety check station located at the top of Escarpment Road for security and safety check purposes. There are 3 partners for Lake Albert Oil Development Project: Ugandan government, namely Cnoq Uganda Limited, Total ENP Uganda BV, and Tullow Uganda Limited. The operatorship of Kingfisher is held by Cnoq Uganda Limited. FEED engineering of Kingfisher Field Development Project is performed by consortium of COOEC and SEC, which lays a solid foundation for the subsequent EPC. Fully sail with strong wind on wide sea under broad sky, compose a new chapter with one heart and great aspiration. Under the leadership of Cnoq Uganda Limited, all staff with more enthusiasm, more active state, steadily promotes the project in accordance with the established schedule and high quality. Take practical action to meet the new chapter of international companies' overseas development. In the near future, a modern oil production facility will be erected on the banks of Lake Alberta in Uganda. Company adheres to the win-win concept, actively fulfills social responsibility, promotes the harmonious development of the company and local communities, and enhances the traditional friendship between the Uganda and China people. The Belt and Road Initiative benefit the African land.
Good afternoon and welcome back from that break. We are now going to dive into our last presentation before we go into the questions and answers. A conversation to really understand what these guys have talked about and to really bring it down the best way we can. We want to make these conversations very easy to understand, and I hope that my panel can try as much as they can to desist from very big words and acronyms. Many people might not be able to understand that. So before we go into the Q&A, there's a very interesting concept, the concept of sustainability. And I think we all know one of the oil majors changed its logo and also its way of doing things by focusing more on the sustainability approach, and that's Total E&P. We just want to make a presentation on what it takes and why it's important for sustainability to come into perspective when we are focusing on financing for oil and gas. And this presentation is going to be made by Jeremy Kimbugwe on behalf of the Stanbic Business Incubator.
Thank you very much, Tony. Esteemed viewers and my fellow panelists, I'm very happy and excited to be here to talk about Uganda's contemporary oil, gas, and petroleum journey. I'm from the Business Incubator, as I've been introduced, and briefly what we do is that we run capacity building and entrepreneurship development programs for SMEs, and we support to nurture SMEs to prepare for growth and harness them for the opportunities the oil and gas sector that we're talking about right now. Not only the oil and gas sector, but everything in general. But right now, as we know, it's the hot cake. Oil and gas is the hot cake as we're speaking right now. So we do this through provision of some programs, namely business development services and follow-up interventions. We do networking events and focus group discussions. We do mentoring, coaching, and then after that we do formal trainings. And then we basically provide a platform for these SMEs to be seen and stand out there. As my colleague said earlier before, it's not only about financing for you to jump onto this oil and gas train. There's some few things that could be stopping you from really benefiting out of this. For example, the law, what do you need to do regards the law? Are you on the NSD? Are you prepared? Do you have, are your personnel trained to be able to cope with the standards of the oil and gas sector? And that is what the Business Incubator is helping you, or that's where we come in to help you to grow. Today, we're not going to talk about national content, as my fellows have been talking about here. We're going to discuss an important aspect of sustainability and environmentalism in contract or project finance. When we talk oil and gas, most people will always skip this. This aspect. Our minds and heads will run to the economy and the jobs that are going to be created and national content. And at times we tend to forget the aggressive nature of the oil and gas environment or industry. As we know, today, most developing countries have been blessed to have some of the biggest oil and gas reserves in the world, and that includes Uganda. However, most of the IOCs, I was saying, international oil companies and the national companies before, had focused on Northern America and other places where the oil was. But now the trends have changed. They're now focusing here. They're focusing in Uganda to try and benefit of this sector and this journey. However, we tend to forget that even if the opportunities are always there in this oil and gas industry, they need money, they need to be financed. And most of these people will need to run to financiers like banks to give them money. But most of those projects at times do not take off. And why don't they take off? Because they lack financing. And why are they not getting financing? This is because they're forgetting the important aspect of environmentalism and sustainability. Most banks and financiers have now taken a move towards environmentalism and sustainability. When you go to get money to finance your project, most of these banks are going to tell you, are you following stringent environmental principles and policies to ensure that you protect the environment? And if you do not do that, then at times it may be very hard for you to access funding to execute your projects. Let's not forget that the climate has been changing very fast due to the Industrial Revolution. Most of these projects are very dangerous to our climate. For example, the oil and gas sector, it works around the clock. It will destabilize. The oil industry uses a lot of water. You realize that most of these companies that carry out the exploration and the drilling, they will destabilize aquatic life, they will destabilize the wildlife and other public and recreational activities that normally take place. So there is a need, an urgent need for everyone who is involved in this journey to embrace the concept of sustainability and environmentalism. Moving on, we need to look at the concept of environmental financing. Most of our financiers, and the good thing is that we have representatives from the Stanbic Bank here,
they'll tell you that they have gone for this concept called environmental financing. But what does it mean? Environmental financing basically means the kind of financing that employs market-based environmental policy instruments to improve the ecological impact of investment strategies. The primary objective of environmental financing is basically to regress the negative impacts of climate change through pricing and trading schemes. When we talk of environmental financing, here we aim to relocate a business's resources to improve the sustainability of investments, whilst also retaining profit margins. So as a business, you don't basically need to look at profits the whole time. You need to be able to realize that you can get profits as well as being mindful to the environment. So that's what the whole concept talks about. Also, there is another important aspect of the Equator Principles. When we talk oil and gas, these days it's very hard for you to skip what the Equator Principles are. Well, the Equator Principles are a risk management framework that has been adopted by financial institutions for determining, assessing, and managing environmental and social risk in projects. It is primarily intended to provide a minimum standard for due diligence and monitoring to support responsible risk decision making. These Equator Principles are based on existing environmental and social policy frameworks established by International Finance Corporation. So these principles have widely been adopted by what we call EPFIs, and these are what we call Equator Principal Financial Institutions. And currently there are around 116 Equator Principal Financial Institutions in 37 banks, and Standard Group is one of them. Good, we have represented from Stanbic Bank here. They'll bear witness with me that most of the banks all around the world have embraced sustainability. Okay, as the Equator Principal Financial Institutions, they basically make a commitment, and they will not give you financing if you're not able to follow the stringent rules in regards to environmentalism. If you're not going to be mindful of the climate and pollution and all these sorts of things, they simply will not extend financing to you. And even if you're very well prepared for the oil and gas journey that we're talking about here, and you're not ready to follow environmentalism and sustainability, they simply will not provide you with money. So that's what the Equator Principles are. There are 10 in total, and they apply to project finance and credit loans and all those other things. Additionally, we talk about sustainability. We understand what sustainability is. It's an essential part in running businesses. So as companies and SMEs that are preparing for the oil and gas journey, there's just some simple practices that you can pick up in regards to sustainability. You can opt to purchase a recycled office material, encouraging individual office recycling, using eco-friendly packaging, cutting back on travel and fuel costs, reducing conventional energy consumption. These things will go a great mile into preserving our environment as we delve into the oil and gas journey. So the incubator, we are committed and devoted to helping businesses develop sustainable business strategies in order to ensure that we protect our environment in this oil and gas journey that we're embarking on as a country. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much, Conrad. Thank you very much for that. I will now just move to my brother, James Mushera. James, I remember we had a conversation, I think, with Emma after some trip to Nigeria, and we saw, for a fact, that the Nigerians have actually struggled with this issue of local content. Nigeria as a country started discussing local content 2010, but also remember that they've been drilling and exploiting the oil resource for years, over 50 years before that. Now, they have a local content fund, which I think and I believe is trying to do something for them. Can you explain more about this local content fund and how it would work if it were in Uganda? Do we have something of the sort? Are we preparing for anything of the sort to support local businesses to engage in the sector?
Thank you very much, Tony. I think for Uganda, it's not about if, it's not about the delay. Like you rightly said, when we went to Nigeria, there had been 50 years without having some of the necessary policy, institutional, and legal frameworks in place. So Uganda, I think we've got it right from the start. And from there, remember, there was an oil and gas policy of 2008. It led to the regulations, the Act, the Petroleum Acts of 2013, the regulations of 2016. But government thought that was not enough. And in 2018, the government passed the local content policy for the oil and gas sector in Uganda. I think it's the only sector with specific local content policy. And in that policy, it was informed by many studies. And one of them, I remember when you were in Total, we did the industrial baseline study, baseline survey. And it brought out challenges. And number 2 of the challenges from that study was lack of financing. Now, in that policy, government put there the local content development fund, which is going to be a 1% of each contract that is going to be awarded. So that policy came in 2018. In 2019, government started developing the principles. There was the creation of the local content steering committee, where that fund is supposed to be managed. Now the process has gone on. The principles have been developed. The stakeholder group, the technical working group, which has PAU, Justice, Finance, and others, have met and developed the RIA, or which is the impact report. So before any policy comes in place, you have to assess and give the impact. So the policy is in place, the policy is in place, the principles have been developed, the RIA has been developed. Now it's going to be presented to Cabinet. The moment Cabinet approves that, then it goes back into the Parliamentary Council for drafting of the bill, and then it can come into force as a law, and now we start operationalizing the fund. It's something we are very excited about, because as you all are aware, is that the reasons businesses are being outcompeted, the reasons people are closing, is a challenge of capital. And so I'm glad that Uganda realized this early enough and has put in the necessary framework, and it's something that you'll see very soon, something that PAU has been actively involved in.
So just to get this clear, this fund will be for businesses that are getting involved in the oil and gas sector and local businesses.
Yes, this fund is meant to support the businesses in oil and gas sector. With all these things that are happening, you realize that one of the things they will ask you for a logistics contract to have a bid performance security of $2 million. And maybe you may get a challenge. Contract financing. Some of these, you have a contract, but you have no alternative. You have nowhere to get this cheap money from. This is money that you would have gotten from the sector. This is money that will be available for these companies. So the moment you have your game in place, you have your technical expertise in place, you have your human resource expertise in place, this is something that the government wants to work with on private sector to ensure that companies keep afloat and compete with the international companies. I will tell you that on the NSD, we have over 2,000 companies. But out of those, we have over 600 companies from 54 countries. So this oil and gas business is not only for the Ugandan companies. You have competition from outside Uganda, which has support from those companies, from those countries, coming to compete with companies that are facing high rates of interest in Uganda, and it's something that government had to come in and plan for, and I'm glad to inform you that this process is ongoing.
Okay, so that's very interesting, because now I want to move it to Emma, because you're the guys who actually contributed to that survey. I remember that survey was contributed to by members of your association, and one of the biggest challenges that you were putting out, or one of the craziest challenges, was access to finance. Emma, even if you were a straight company, how has it been in terms of access to finance, or what would you want to see in terms of access to finance with this next round?
Tony, you know, like James has said, and like I said earlier, one of the biggest challenges we have is access to affordable credit. And it's not only for oil and gas, it's across the business breadth, because I have some figures here. Uganda has the second lowest central bank CBR rates in the region. We are now at 6.5. Kenya is 7, Rwanda is 4.5, and Tanzania is at 5%. But we have the highest commercial bank interest rates in the region at an average of 18.1%. Kenya is at 16%. Rwanda is at 12.08%, and Tanzania is at 13.2%. James has just said that the NSD, the National Supplier Database, has opened for everyone. There are 2,000 Ugandan companies, but there are 600 other companies from across the world. These very companies come and compete with us. We end up having the best technical offers, but we lose out on the commercial offering. Furthermore, Tony, when you go across the globe, our competitors in the market have access to interest rates, to money that is at, for example, UK, 0.1%, and I'm sure Mr. Kamut, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. USA is at 0.25%, China is at 3.85%, and Japan is at negative 0.1%. We're talking about interest rates. They're the guys we compete with in the market. When you come here, and I'm just picking the 5 biggest banks in Uganda, Stanbic is at 16%, Stanchart is at 18.3%, Absa Uganda is at 17%, DFCU is at 20%, Centenary Bank is at 20%, KCB is at 21%. Tony, I'm borrowing at 21% to compete with someone who is borrowing at 0.2%. I have the best technical offer, and maybe we are tying at 60%. The other 40%, I am offering a commercial rate of 21%, and my competitor from China is offering at commercial rate of 3.8%. How are we going to compete? When we went to Nigeria, we found these guys had the one, actually theirs was 2% of net. I think 2% of net. The First Bank of Nigeria was holding close to $12 billion for the local service providers. And these guys were accessing it in form of a rotational fund. You go, if you have a contract, you go, you access the money, you use the money, you bring it back, another person accesses it. Those are the guys that we have to compete with. Mr. Kamuntu, you have to come up with solutions. When you go further and you get an overdraft, it is even more costly than any other bank facility. The banks tell us that they have special and customized products for us service providers, but they are not competitive. You get an overdraft. I have members who have had overdraft that they've not utilized for the last so many years. Why? Because they are not competitive. And the other thing, Mr. Moderator, is the issue of security and collateral. You look at, you go to the bank, you're asking for 200 million, they ask you for a land title worth 1 billion, they ask you for a house. People don't sleep. On top of their businesses, they can't sleep because they are thinking about their houses, their pieces of land, their property. We need to get a balance. If the banks need to make money, they need to strike a balance with the business people on how much they can, how far they can go. What do they need? If I need $100 million and the bank is giving me maybe 80%, I'm contributing 20%, and they take collateral, they take security worth 300 billion. How am I going to survive in business? So we need to look for a way of doing that. I'm very glad, James, you're moving forward with that fund, but it's taking forever. I sat on that committee 5 years ago. We made recommendations. 5 years down the road, it's still work in progress. When is it coming? The companies, the first line companies, have sent through requests for quotations. How are we going to do it, James, if we do not have those things done. And I'm telling you, we're going to come to your offices, we're going to come to you to help us because we need help as service providers. Mr. Kamuntu, we're going to come to you because we need solutions. We need solutions that can help us work. We need solutions that can make us competitive. And that's where we are, Mr. Moderator.
All right, so, and maybe just before you finish, someone called Jude just asked, what does it take to become a member of August? So maybe you could just in like 30 seconds, what does it take to become a member of August? And then maybe I will also just get another question that is headed towards you. It says, no, I think that's the only one for you.
Jude, we are available. You can go to www.augos.org. There's a form that you can fill. But you can also, I'll avail my contact, how you can get me, and we hope you become a member because we want as many Ugandans as possible to participate in oil and gas because that's the only way we can change our society. We do not want, and I'm not being racist, but we do not want to see our money going to China, to India, to North America, and to Europe. We want as much money as possible to stay home. And that is by you being a member.
Okay, so these next questions, I think I'm going to just push them over to you, Matthew. You as a company have been supporting a lot of businesses to get involved in the sector. So one, the guys here want to know, how have you been, or how are you supporting local SMEs get involved in the oil and gas sector? Then also, anonymous here, someone anonymous says, do startup engineering firms with no experience, no turnover, etc. have opportunities to partner with established contractors to do the works? And then, of course, another question coming in from another person says, or asks, how is Cnoq going to ensure that up to the last subcontractors or suppliers are paid? We are worried that the payment culture of we're worried about the payment culture of some of the main contractors. I think this is an issue of trust. And then, of course, someone has another question goes to you, Matthew. Where do you where can they access the information that you have just been displaying? I think that one is public information that can be also shared. And finally, Matthew, is Cnoq engaging the project-affected persons of Buhuka and Greater Bunyoro in all of these conversations? I think those are the questions that are for you, Matthew, and then we shall go on to Henry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, moderator, Mr. Tony, and for those that have asked the questions. The first question is about how Cnoq is supporting the Ugandan SMEs in their journey to partake in the oil and gas sector. Yeah, one is Cnoq organizes quarterly engagements like this. We organize quarterly supplier development engagements such as this to ensure that we pass on information about opportunities that are available. And like you've seen today, we have focused on financing for contractors. We have brought on board all these this panel of experts to explain to you how you can actually be financed. In addition, we have several trainings that we have sponsored in the last about 10 years, which include the welding and welding certification. Every year we've been training about over 30. This year alone we are training 120. We are training and certifying welders to international standards to ensure that Ugandan welders get jobs on the pipeline, on the different facilities that are going to be constructed during the development phase. We are also, this year and last year we trained 70 heavy goods vehicle drivers. This year we are doing the same. These will be the drivers that will be driving the cargo, the goods all the way from Mombasa to Uganda. And we are going to continue with this for the next few years. We are also training teachers. Last year alone, we trained 84 teachers from Uganda Petroleum Institute Kigumba and UTC Kichwamba. And we are also, this year, we are training another 42 teachers to ensure that they are able to train more and have that multiplier effect and to international standards. We are also in a partnership with the Stanbic Business Incubator, which is also with us today here. We have an MOU to support them in enterprise development and ensuring that with all enterprise development initiatives that they partake of have our support in. Lastly, but finally, we are also, this year we are going to have the training or training in ICITB. This is a specialized training for people in the construction industry that will see 60 participants from the Albertine region trained in the construction industry. We're also going to have the Supplier, the enterprise development online training, which will see at least 150 SMEs benefit. So 100 of these will be from the Albertine region and 50 will be from around Kampala. That is just a little bit of what we are doing to ensure that we support SMEs. About the question about startups that lack experience, yes, it is good that if you lack experience, yeah, we would encourage you to form a joint venture with a company that has experience. If you are qualified but you lack experience, form a joint venture with a company that has experience for synergies so that you can also participate. About payments, I believe this was towards payments by suppliers. It is a contractual obligation for all our suppliers to pay their suppliers or subcontractors in time. We make sure we include this so that there is a trickle-down effect there. They are liable to paying their suppliers, and we make sure it is in the contract that we sign with them. About PAPS, Buhuka PAPS engagement.
Can you, PAPS, what are PAPS?
Yes, sorry, thank you. PAPS is the project affected persons. These are people who are affected by our establishments, for example, the people that are displaced in the areas where our facilities, like the central processing facility, is going to be, where the roads and the feeder lines are going to pass. So these people are engaged on a quarterly basis as well, right from the village level to the sub-county level to the district level and the regional level. And we have a fully functional department, a corporate affairs department that does that very well. I think that is all. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll now just come to you, Henry. Henry, someone is asking, he says, please ask the Stanbic gentleman how subcontractors will be supported, not only the main contractor. So I think he's talking about tier 2, tier 3, you know, the small guys. And then also, someone else has also, actually Ivan Sekaita has asked, financial inclusion is a good step. More needs to be done to make these banking products and services understandable, especially by the unbanked. What are you doing to try and support in making these understandable to the unbanked? And also, what opportunities are there for your subcontractors?
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you to the viewers who presented those questions. I think to the question around the subcontractors, this is to advise that these same services can be extended to the subcontractors. I think what is very critical is if you have a contract, please make sure you approach the nearest bank or branch near you to start that engagement around how they can support you on this particular journey. I think what we've found in the financial sector, and just coming back to some of the comments that were raised by Emmanuel, which I think are very, very critical around how we, raise cheaper funding. The financial sector, I think, has gone through quite a few developments. And I think some of them really also first have to stem from us as the individuals. If you, as a contractor, do not have a good borrowing history, it becomes very challenging for the bank to extend financing to you. If you, as a contractor, do not have, even the basics as your financial statements, how do we extend financing to you? That's already, a challenge. What's your corporate governance structure like? The financing is available, but I think it's important that even the structures are put into play to support once the contractors come into play. I'll just give a very simple example as, we can extend you money for a particular contract, to deliver on, I don't know, civil works or a construction site. And because it's quite a significant amount of money, you suddenly feel the need to buy a tractor or, land in the village to plant coffee, whatever the requirement is. So already funds are being diverted for a cause that they were not meant to be. You mentioned something very interesting on the overdrafts. Overdrafts being used to purchase long-term assets. It's important that, you have engagements with the bank to structure products and services that can help you either purchase, whether it's yellow metal or vehicles if you're in the logistics space, that will, run in line with your cash flows. So it's important that the engagements are had between the bank and the customer. And I think this is something that, we're really trying to encourage a lot of our clients to do, and be more forthright with your information. Don't hide information, because once you do, it becomes very difficult to structure anything for you. On the financial inclusion piece, I think this is something that, we're trying to do as a bank, and we've, of course, come up with a few innovations to address this. I think for those listening, we have financial literacy programs that we roll, and in partnership, of course, with the business incubator team. If we can educate those that are banked with us, which is important, but also those that are not banked with us, if we can develop a proper culture amongst individuals, once these contracts come, it will be very easy for you to, win some of these contracts. And some of them have been ring-fenced. I think the opportunities are immense. As mentioned earlier, the amounts involved are quite significant. So you might not be able to take all 21 trillion or $6 billion US. You might be looking for just 0.1% of that. But if you can't deliver on a contract, then the partnerships makes a lot of sense. And I think as a bank, we sometimes come in to support a lot of the local entities who have the expertise but might not have the financial muscle to deliver on these particular contracts, to find the right partners that they can enter into these projects and still partake in this great opportunity. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. These next questions are going to go to you, James. Someone is saying, how are you ensuring, as a regulator, how are you ensuring transparency in sharing of information? It looks like a lot is going on in the background. And I think also, if you recall, in the industry baseline survey, one of the biggest challenges was, or the craziest challenges was, visibility over demand, the failure to know what's going on at any one time. Then also someone says, James, clarify on how Uganda as a country has structured laws to evade the oil costs. And finally, maybe this also goes to you, James, what digital opportunities are available in the oil and gas sector? Yeah, James, your cue.
Thank you very much, our dear viewers, for those questions. One of them is the issue of transparency. This information is going on behind doors. I beg to disagree slightly. First of all, we are here because of the mandate of transparency. I think it's not our first quarterly workshop, but the law says the licensed oil companies shall have quarterly supplier engagements. So every quarter, Cnoq, Total have to hold these kinds of workshops. And these usually in the past were done in hotels, they were done in big conference rooms. With the coming of COVID, we advised that this should now move to e-platforms, and that means TV, Zoom. And so I'm glad that one of the efforts we're ensuring that this information goes out is that the licensees have quarterly supplier workshops, and Cnoq as a licensee has made sure that they obey the requirement of the law, and we've had these over and over. That said, government is doing a lot to ensure that there is transparency and information is out there. If you go to our website, www.pau.go.ug, the amount of information you find there will kind of amuse you or amaze you, because all the contracts that are advertised, we upload them there. All the contractor procurement plans for the full year, we put them there. All the developments that happen, we are there. So I encourage you to regularly visit these websites and you'll get a lot of information. Number 3, as government, we've also having own campaigns throughout, on radio, on TV, going to all the project affected persons. We have not slept. I think we always engage, and I'm sure, Tony, I'm about to hide because sometimes your face becomes, you're everywhere because you're trying to ensure that this information, and we've not worked alone. We've worked with private sector, we've worked with organizations like August, we've worked with Chamber of Mines, we've worked with the private business like Incubator. There's no information that Incubator does that government is not involved in. So I think if you're looking for information, it is there. It's up to you as Ugandans to consume it, because there's nothing that you cannot get through what we are doing as government. And of course, more is going to be done as we go ahead. When the main contractors identified, will have these workshops again. They will come and tell you what do they require, what will you be able to supply them. The ball is moving out from the licensee only to now to the main contractors who are going to do the actual work. Number 2, what laws are in place to prevent the oil curse? I must say we are fortunate that as a country we have learned from people who have been there and failed. We have learned from people who have been there and succeeded. So those lessons have been key in putting in place things that will prevent the oil curse. For example, you heard that Nigeria got the local content laws in 2010 after 50 years of oil production. We have local content laws before we even bring out one first drop of oil. That alone is a measure to prevent the oil curse. So we've had, government has put in the necessary legal framework, so we'll have specific laws and policies regulating the oil and gas sector. It has put in place the necessary institutions. That's why you hear the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, which has been established to make sure that the oil and gas sector is regulated according to the best international practices, but also in accordance with the law. But it's not the only one. We have also government set up the commercial arm, Uganda National Oil Company, to handle all the commercial aspects. So there was a separation of roles. The commercial aspects being handled by the National Oil Company. So it's an equivalent of UTL. I know that's what Ugandans are most well versed with. And then you have the regulator, which is PAU, which is an equivalent of Uganda, UCC, to handle the regulation. And then you have the mother ministry to handle the policy, the licensing. So those separation of roles to separate conflict, to make the work clear, distinct, is one of the ways that will avoid the cause. So the legal framework in place, the institutional framework is in place. Transparency, we have signed on the Transparency Initiative, Transparency Network, EITS, to make sure that all is done in transparency. It's an international body that ensures transparency in oil and gas. So I am sure Uganda is going to avoid the oil curse. Digital opportunities, many, because you'll have, for example, a camp of 5,000, 4,000, 5,000 workers. You'll have telecommunication. The pipeline alone is going to have a telecommunication network. A lot, there is already here, I'm talking about an opportunity from UBC, for UBC and JP Wong, before we start producing because of this. This show is as a result of oil. So you just have to open your eyes The opportunities will be advertised in the local press when the level 1 contractors are known. Some are there on our national supplier database, networking, supply of equipment, supply of software. All these are necessary for the sector. Just keep looking out and you will definitely participate. But remember, register on the national supplier database.
Thank you very much, James. A question has also been asked about how someone can benefit from the Stanbic Business Incubator program. I think it's a very simple process. Remember, this is free of charge. We really try to support your businesses to grow, to thrive. And now more than ever, our services are much needed. So we're available to support you. All you have to do is to visit us. But of course, right now, it's not possible to visit many of the places because of what's going on with COVID. But we have a number that is 0312 0700, which can support you. But also, if you walked into any of the Stanbic branches, you can be supported on getting onto our program. It's a very good program for your businesses to be able to engage in the oil and gas sector. Someone is also asking, and this goes to you, Matthew. Thanks for the workshop. Oil and gas is male-dominated. What is Cnoq doing in this regard? Equally, us to be able to have is it possible to have a lady on the panel to motivate others? And I think that's a very valid question.
Thank you very much for that very good question. I would like to publicly announce that James is here representing Miss Betty Namubiru. We were supposed to have a lady on this panel by the names of Miss Betty Namubiru, who is the National Content Manager, PAU. And she has apologized and sent Mr. James Mushere to represent her. In addition, as Cnoq, we are very gender sensitive, and I can tell you up to 50% of our Cnoq staff are actually ladies. And also in all our contract, we encourage all our contractors to give opportunity to ladies to actually partake, provided they are qualified. We are very gender sensitive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to give each one of you 30 seconds to have a last minute parting shot, for our viewers to actually really, first of all, appreciate where you're coming from and also what you can say in terms of preparing them for the opportunities that are coming up. I'll begin with you, James, and we'll go round.
Thank you very much, dear viewers, for listening to us. I would like to thank Cnoq for fulfilling this mandate of having the quarterly workshop online. As a parting shot, I would like to encourage companies out there that this opportunity that has been sung about for some time is actually now here. It's no longer hearsay. You are seeing contracts being advertised. You're seeing contractors being chosen. I know you have been patient, but do not lose or give up at the finishing line. Be vigilant, visit our website, and I'm sure the cake is big enough for most of the companies to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Conrad, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Viewers and my dear panelists, my parting shots are basically, if we want to fully benefit from this as a country, I think we need to be very vigilant about our environment and sustainability. Let us not just profit in regards to one thing and let another thing slide away. Let us be mindful of both. Let us profit, and let us also be mindful of the climate in order to have sustainability and ensure that we fully maximize what we're going to get from this oil and gas journey.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Henry?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, moderator. I'd like to also thank Cnoq for hosting this. I think to the viewers, at Stanbic Bank, we have a purpose that says that Uganda is our home, we drive our growth, and we truly believe in this. We're extremely passionate about supporting the local content in participating in this significant opportunity. What I'd really request is that start those engagements early with the bank. it goes a long way in facilitating you winning some of these contracts. And I think on the last note, I'd really like to leave you with that quote I shared earlier. You know, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together is truly success. And we can only do this and partake in this opportunity if we do it jointly. So looking forward to seeing you approaching the bank shortly. Thanks.
Emma, your 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Tony. Mine is really a call to action to Ugandans to come and participate in oil and gas. Forget the naysayers, forget the bad vibes about negative vibes and negative energy about oil and gas, about being a curse, about being for a few chosen people. Do your part, build systems, train the right personnel, certify, skill, register on the National Supplier Database, come, let's fold the sleeves and do the work. The industry needs so many people. We are told there are about 150,000 direct and induced jobs that are coming up. We need to do those jobs. We are told there's 20 billion to share. We need to share part of that pie, but we cannot share that pie if we are behind covers and talking about oil costs, talking about negativities. We need to build positive vibes so that we can share part of this $20 billion. Otherwise, all the money will be taken by the people that are ready, because they say opportunity falls to those who are prepared. So let's get prepared so that we can share the opportunity.
Matthew, your 30 seconds. I realize you're not using 30 seconds, so I will emphasize 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Tony. Mine is in brief. One, to government. I've picked up, please operationalize or make the operationalization of the National Content Fund faster. To the financial companies like Stanbic and other financial providers, please provide affordable products to our dear Ugandan suppliers. To our suppliers and potential suppliers, please register on the National Supplier Database and seek information from the different platforms like this, and also the PAU website. To our viewers, first of all, I thank you for tuning in, and I would like to request you to stay safe. This is COVID period. And to our organizers of this event, who are JP Wong, who have helped us organize this, we thank you very much and look forward to many more engagements. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that comes to the end of our very interesting 2 hours of conversations on the oil and gas sector. Preparedness. We've been talking about oil and gas. We've been asking ourselves when these opportunities are going to come. They've finally come. Are we ready? Is your business ready? And I think at the Stanbic Business Incubator, we're here to support you. So if you want to get involved with the training, which is, by the way, free of charge and for the benefit of your business and the networks that you will enjoy, it's very simple. You can contact us on 031 222 6700. I'll repeat that, 031 222 6700. Get to us and we shall support your businesses in getting ready for this oil and gas journey. It's a great journey. We do not want situations where we're missing out. Thank you so much. And Tony Otoa, I've been your host today. It's a pleasure and good afternoon.
The Kingfisher Field lies on the southeastern flank of the Albert Basin, which is part of the western arm of the East African Rift System. The field is approximately 15.2 kilometer long by 3.0 kilometer wide and covers an oil area of 32.3 kilometers squared. The Kingfisher Oil Field Development Project shall comprise the following facilities: construction of a 40,000 BOPD design capacity CPF, 4 well pads, linking of the well sites to the CPF by production flow lines and water injection lines, lake water intake pump station, permanent camp, supply base,